You didn't ask for it, but here it is, 159 mind-blowing facts coming your way. Some will make you laugh, others might just make you question reality. Hit subscribe, and let me know which fact blew your mind the most.
So many questions. Why is the world spinning? Why is the moon keeping its orbit? Can rockets fly backwards? The facts you didn't know you needed. The Useless Show.
In 2003, the U.S. experienced the largest blackout in its history because of untrimmed trees in Ohio. Seriously, branches brushed a power line, and a chain reaction knocked out power in 8 states and parts of Canada. Who knew botched landscaping could paralyze half a continent? Mexico celebrates its Independence Day with an all-night party, but the actual battle for independence didn't even end that day. The president shouts, El Grito, from a balcony while ringing a massive bell, reenacting a priest's yell from 1810. In 2009, Iranian President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad's speech triggered a massive walkout when he accused Israel of being a racist regime and denied the Holocaust. Delegates from over 30 countries left the room, many in visible protest. In Turkmenistan, Independence Day is a mix of military parades and horse beauty contests. Yes, actual competitions where Ahal Teke horses are judged for their elegance, mane fluffiness, and royal strut. The celebrations include synchronized dancing, golden statues, and a level of national horse worship that makes you wonder if the horses secretly run the country. Habanero peppers, often mistaken for the mild-mannered cousin of fiery peppers, are like that friend who offers you a small taste of their spice and then casually watches as you're engulfed in flames. It's got a kick, and it's not afraid to remind you that mild was just an illusion. In 2014, a group of engineers created a flashlight powered entirely by body heat. You just held it, and your hand's warmth would charge it using thermoelectric materials. People with cold hands got no light and a lot of existential doubt. In 1960, Soviet leader Nikita Khrushchev allegedly banged his shoe on the desk during a UN session to interrupt a speech critical of the USSR. While the shoe-slamming moment is debated, the chaos it caused wasn't. Khrushchev reportedly screamed, waved his shoe, and shattered all chill, turning this session into an international toddler tantrum. In Soi Tien Theme Park, Vietnam, everything is Buddha-themed, but not in a peaceful monastery way. You'll find roller coasters shooting through dragon statues, giant stone Buddhas with water slides coming out of their chests, and a crocodile farm where kids can feed meat to hundreds of hungry reptiles. There's a bacon-flavored energy drink that proudly tastes like someone blended pork fat into battery acid. Marketed toward hardcore gamers and truckers who want meat with their caffeine, it's basically liquid regret in a can. It smells like a diner floor at 3 a.m. and leaves your breath somewhere between sizzling and suspicious. Ancient Romans had a sewer goddess named Cloatina because apparently nothing says spiritual devotion like building a shrine to holy poop canals. They believed clean sewers were sacred, so yes, people literally prayed for smooth flushing and divine drainage. One of the weirdest failed light inventions came in the form of edible glow sticks made from bioluminescent jellyfish protein. Designed as emergency rations and lighting in one, they were squishy, slightly glowing snacks with the texture of regret. In South Africa, the Pantsula dance emerged from the townships during apartheid as a form of rebellion and social commentary. Think of it as angry tap dancing on steroids. Eating raw or undercooked meat can give you tapeworms, creepy flat freeloaders that set up Airbnb in your intestines and can grow up to 25 feet long. You could literally be digesting a steak while a worm in your gut is digesting your digestion like a gross parasitic roommate. Kids randomly break down at every mild inconvenience because their tiny brains are not capable of processing logic. A kid once threw themselves on the ground, screaming and kicking, because they couldn't fit into a shoe that was 3 sizes too small on purpose. Some non-veg eaters get something called meat sweats, a real, scientifically noted phenomenon where you eat so much protein that your body starts sweating like it's in a gym commercial. It's like your internal furnace hits overdrive, and suddenly your dinner turns into a cardio session without the actual movement. Just beef-induced perspiration. Hardcore carnivores can sometimes develop gout, a condition so old school it was once called the rich man's disease because only kings ate that much meat. The result? Painful joints and the privilege of limping like royalty. One child lost their mind because the moon wouldn't follow them into the house. When their parent closed the door, the toddler cried, like they'd left a friend behind in space jail. Trying to teach a toddler about orbital mechanics while they sob for the moon is both hilariously futile and completely developmentally normal. The ginger beer mojito is the most confusing creation. Basically a mojito without the rum, but with ginger beer thrown in for, I don't know, spicy enthusiasm? In medieval Europe, you could get a degree in narrating the Bible. Seriously. The University of Paris in the 12th century offered degrees in holy narration, where students basically learned how to recite scripture in a dramatic way. It was like a mix between a religious lecture and a performance art show, except no one was asking for a standing ovation. Just a lot of amenes. In 1930, Robert Kronfeld set a world record for altitude by flying his glider up to 16,000 feet, without an engine. His glider was a fabric and wood contraption that looked like it belonged in a kid's toy box. Meanwhile, the dude was essentially gliding into the stratosphere like it was a casual Sunday afternoon. The birth of chemical batteries is rooted in an 18th century frog leg fiasco. In 1780, Luigi Galvani noticed that a dead frog's legs twitched when touched by metal, which he thought proved animals had electricity in them. Spoiler, they didn't. Alessandro Volta disagreed. Volta basically invented portable electricity because of a disagreement over electro-frogs. The weird origin of electrical appliances begins with the Victorian obsession with novelty and mildly dangerous experiments. Early toasters, for example, had no timers and were more like mini electric crematoriums for bread. Burnt offerings were common. A toddler's brain can decide to ring alarms at the most normal things. One toddler once had a complete emotional breakdown because their shadow kept following them. They tried to outrun it, stomp on it, even yell at it to go away. None of which worked, obviously. Turns out this paranoia about inescapable shapes is developmentally normal in the me versus the universe phase. Parasitic barnacles grow inside crabs and hijack their bodies. One species turns the crab into a full-time babysitter, even sterilizing the host so it stops worrying about its own kids and raises barnacle babies instead. Crabs start grooming invisible eggs. That's less growth, more psychological hijacking with a side of horror movie. Certain flatworms skip all that grow gradually nonsense and just clone themselves by splitting in half. No big deal. One day you're a worm, the next day you're two. The original doesn't even die. It's just now got a weird sibling made from its butt half. The Lockheed U-2 spy plane is such a diva that landing it is harder than convincing a cat to take a bath. Its absurdly long wingspan causes it to bounce, veer, and dance dramatically unless chased by another car, telling the pilot how low they are. It refuses to land without an audience. In 2017, a raccoon in Seattle got into a substation and knocked out power for over 38,000 people. It was dubbed Raccoon-ageddon. The furry vandal survived, became an urban legend, and possibly founded a trash panda revolution. It remains the only blackout blamed on a raccoon with excellent climbing skills and terrible judgment. A man in Norway received his PhD for researching how people walk in the snow. He categorized walking types, measured footsteps, and filmed people slipping on ice. Basically, he became the academic version of a slapstick cameraman and convinced a university it was science, not just seasonal comedy. A Canadian researcher studied how to win a rock-paper-scissors game, diving into psychological warfare over paper cuts. He studied over 300 matches, classified player behavior, and discovered that humans are hilariously predictable with scissors. Some lovebirds act like their relationship is some sort of exclusive VIP club. If you're not in, it's all, we're special. You wouldn't understand. Spoiler alert. You're not the first couple to exchange matching sweatshirts and eat pizza on Saturday nights. It's called normal life, not a secret society. In the 17th century, Isaac Newton and Robert Hooke had a legendary feud. Newton had a secret, unpublished manuscript that Hooke accused him of plagiarizing. In retaliation, Newton erased Hooke's name from the history of science so thoroughly that Hooke's contributions to physics went largely unrecognized for centuries. Newton basically gave Hooke the silent treatment by rewriting history. Merdeka 118 is a building in Malaysia, still under construction, that has a shape that resembles a giant can opener or a futuristic space-age axe. It was supposed to symbolize the country's development, But instead, it's raised eyebrows globally for looking more like a sci-fi villain's weapon than a symbol of progress. There's the Louisiana Superdome in New Orleans. Not the actual Superdome's functionality that's questioned, but the fact that it's a dome that's, well, kinda pointless. It sits in a city prone to hurricanes and floods. If you're going to build a massive dome in a flood zone, maybe add a boat ramp. The Kuching cat statue in Malaysia, standing at 12 meters tall, represents a cat in a city named after them. While it's an amusing tribute, it's arguably one of the least useful monuments ever. It doesn't serve any purpose except to confuse tourists and local cats who apparently have no idea why they're being honored. A kid in Ohio thought it would be hilarious to toss his jacket into the washer with a bunch of coins in the pockets. Not only did the coins do their best impression of a percussion band, but some escaped and got stuck in the machine's inner workings. A $3.5 disaster. In the desert, when you're low on water, one weird tactic is to lick the moisture from cactus spines. Yeah, not exactly what you'd call gourmet, but the spines can provide some hydration in desperate times. Just make sure you're not confusing it with a spiny kind of cactus, which could leave you looking like a porcupine. One bizarre desert survival tactic involves covering your body in ash or dirt. While it sounds like you're dressing up for Halloween, it's actually a smart way to keep cool. The grime blocks the sun's rays, acting as a protective layer. So forget sunscreen, just roll around in some desert dust. Another odd tactic, wear a damp cloth on your head. In the scorching heat, you might think water would evaporate quickly, but a damp cloth traps moisture and cools your head. It's basically the desert's version of wearing a hat that's also secretly a mini air conditioner. Who needs air conditioning when you can improvise? In South Korea, a kimchi-flavored energy drink once hit shelves and managed to taste exactly like you'd imagine. Fermented cabbage mixed with sugar and spice, then shocked with caffeine. The result was like sipping spicy pickle juice in a rave. Reviews ranged from boldly disgusting to accidentally finished the whole thing. If you ever find yourself stuck in the desert without food, don't panic. Eat some insects. While it may sound like a bug lover's dream, desert-dwelling insects are packed with protein and often have high moisture content. They might taste like dirt, but at least you'll survive long enough to find a proper meal. In 2012, a technician in India pressed the wrong button, which led to a 20-state power outage affecting over 600 million people. That's nearly 10% of Earth's population knocked offline because someone had a case of curious finger syndrome. The grid folded like a cheap lawn chair, and the dude probably got demoted to flashlight duty. Some planes absolutely refused to cooperate with gravity, like the infamous Boeing 737 rudder issue in the 90s. These aircraft would occasionally just decide to turn by themselves mid-flight without pilot input, as if possessed by a sassy wind spirit that just wanted to spice up your commute with death spirals. And here's the weirdest of all survival tactics: building a shelter using nothing but your own shadow. In dire situations, you can use your body to create shade and avoid the sun's deadly rays. It's like becoming your own personal parasol. Sure, you're technically just standing there doing nothing, but hey, it works. In Switzerland, they celebrate a win with a cow parade. If you win something big, expect cows dressed in fancy ribbons and bells to be paraded through the streets. Because who doesn't want to celebrate their victory by being followed around by an entourage of fashion-forward cows? In Fiji, one bizarre celebratory custom is the giving of a whale tooth. Yep, a literal whale tooth is exchanged as a mark of respect and honor after achievements. You've worked hard for that promotion and someone hands you a whale tooth. It's like a trophy, but from the ocean. In the Philippines, the strange tradition involves jumping at midnight on New Year's Eve to grow taller. While not directly tied to congratulations, it's a celebratory weirdness that requires you to jump around wildly as a good luck charm. It's like celebrating the new year by trying to defy gravity. In parts of Sudan, goat herders rub ash on themselves and their goats not for hygiene, but to mask scent from predators. So they walk around smelling like a barbecue pit, hoping hyenas will go, "Nah, that's just a burnt tree." It's survival via smoke and some very questionable cologne choices. In rural Greece, some herders train their goats to come only when they play a specific tune on a flute. These aren't just goats. They're musical snobs. If the herder plays the wrong song, the goats literally ignore him like entitled divas, refusing to go on stage unless the vibe is right. In parts of rural India and Pakistan, some folks believe sneezing before a journey is straight up bad luck, but only if it's a single sneeze. 2 sneezes? Totally fine. So, if someone lets out 1 sneeze, they'll sit back down, sip tea, wait a bit, and try again, like their sinuses need divine approval for movement. In certain Punjabi weddings, sisters-in-law steal the groom's shoes mid-ceremony and demand money for their return. It's basically organized bridal party ransom with a touch of criminal flair. In Japan, winning in sports is sometimes celebrated by throwing cakes and fish into the crowd. It's a mess, but a delicious one. Nothing says congratulations like a soft, fluffy cake being hurled at your face, or a fish, depending on the sports team's mood. It's a fishy, sugary victory explosion. In Japan, after a baby is born, a traditional ceremony called Shichigo-san takes place when the child turns 3, 5, or 7. While it's a lovely family celebration, it includes dressing up the baby in formal attire and walking through crowds, reminding everyone that yes, this child is extremely special. In the Netherlands, babies are sometimes wrapped tightly in dekens, thick blankets, to ensure they grow up strong. It's so intense, it looks like you're preparing them for an extreme winter even though they're only born in the spring. Talk about a cozy, possibly too tight future. In Morocco, newborns are often given a henna tattoo. It's not about style, but protection from evil spirits. Apparently, a baby with a little henna design on their hand has a higher chance of keeping those mischievous spirits away. A tiny mystical bodyguard in the form of body art. In India, there is a custom called nazar, where the newborn is shielded from the evil eye by a black dot placed on their forehead. It's basically a tiny, bold fashion statement and a way to protect the little one from any harmful gaze. So forget baby on board. Now it's baby protected from bad vibes. One PhD was given for a thesis on the perceived personality of cheese. The researcher surveyed people on what traits they assigned to cheeses. Apparently, brie is sexy, cheddar is dependable, and blue cheese is the weird uncle at the dairy reunion. In the world of love, there's this ridiculous belief that ignoring problems will make them go away. Like, if you just sweep everything under the rug, the dust bunnies will suddenly organize themselves into a cute love poem. Newsflash, you're not avoiding issues, you're just creating an emotional junkyard. Jamaicans have a dish called Manish water, which sounds innocent until you realize it's goat head soup, with everything from the brain to the testicles, tossed in like culinary confetti. It's considered an aphrodisiac, which means someone looked at a steaming bowl of goat face and said, yes, this will get me laid. Howard Hughes, the eccentric billionaire, had so many burial rumors that people thought he was entombed in a custom-made cryogenic pod to be resurrected when humans evolved into less annoying creatures. In reality, he was buried in a standard grave, but conspiracy theorists still believe he's chilling somewhere in a billionaire freezer with Walt Disney. There's a traditional treat called cow cod soup, made from, you guessed it, the bull's penis. It's stewed like it's a normal thing, and Jamaicans swear it boosts male stamina. Imagine sipping a spicy broth, then realizing the chewy bit you're gnawing is a boiled bovine noodle of love. In Nigeria, newborns are sometimes given a custom to face the door. If a child is born facing the door, it is believed they will become a wanderer or will not settle in one place. Newborns might have their cradles rearranged just to avoid future globe-trotting tendencies. In the 1930s, Virginia Hall, an American spy during World War II, played a crucial role in sabotaging Nazi forces. Despite having a prosthetic leg, which she named Cuthbert, Hall was known for her epic ability to move undetected across enemy lines. In the 16th century, Jeanne Beret was the first woman to circumnavigate the globe, but she did so disguised as a man. She joined a French expedition as a botanist, and no one knew her secret until the journey was almost over. It's like the ultimate woman's got game move in the world of exploration. In 1620, the Pilgrims sailed to America to establish a colony, only to have their first encounter with Native Americans derailed by a mistranslation. When they tried to say, "We come in peace," the translator accidentally conveyed that they were, in fact, planning to conquer. The Native Americans, understandably, didn't throw a welcome party. In some West African tribes, dancers wear elaborate masks that supposedly summon ancestral spirits. Basically, it's less "let's groove tonight" and more "hey, grandma's ghost, wanna jam?" These dances aren't just moves, they're full-blown spiritual FaceTime calls with the dead. During the Korean War, U.S. soldiers would use loudspeakers to broadcast messages of peace. However, one message meant to say, "We want peace with North Korea," was misheard and came out as, "We want peace with North Korean leaders who eat dirty." Guess they weren't the best at peace talks. Thailand's Songkran Festival celebrates the new year by turning the entire country into a water fight arena. Tourists and locals, mostly energetic youth, go full combat mode with buckets, water guns, and hoses. The spiritual cleansing part gets completely overshadowed by drenched chaos and unprovoked splash attacks from grannies with garden hoses. It's war, with squirt guns. In a twist of historical absurdity, Nazi scientists feared typhus so much they restricted trains full of infected prisoners from entering death camps. This accidentally saved lives, as some transports were rerouted or delayed long enough for liberation. The only thing worse than a war crime is a war crime foiled by your own germophobia. In Zimbabwe, it's illegal to store more than 200 liters of fuel at home, unless you register as a bulk fuel user. So if you're hoarding gas for your apocalypse bunker, better do it with paperwork. Otherwise, you're not a prepper. You're an unlicensed gas goblin breaking the law with your fiery pantry of doom. In Nigeria, people have smuggled fuel across borders using plastic jerry cans disguised as yams. Yes, yam-shaped fuel containers. Why? Because fuel is subsidized at home and expensive across borders. So while the rest of the world eats their carbs, Nigerians are stuffing fake vegetables with gasoline, like it's black market Thanksgiving. In India, there's a law that makes it illegal to fill your fuel tank after it's been declared full by the nozzle auto stop. Why? Because you're technically tampering with calibrated weights and measures. So that extra squirt you begged the guy to add, you could be accidentally committing a micro-level fuel felony. The Nazis once deported a group of Jews from Norway to Auschwitz, but forgot to register them properly. As a result, the system lost track of them, and some escaped through bureaucratic oblivion. The same regime that micromanaged genocide down to train schedules couldn't keep its Excel sheet straight. Hitler lost to paperwork. Love makes people think they're psychic. They expect their partner to understand their unspoken needs, like when you want your fries without anyone asking. People in love start believing mind reading is a relationship superpower. In reality, the only superpower you both have is the ability to avoid talking about laundry. In Japan, eyeball licking became a micro-trend among edgy teens who thought licking someone's cornea was peak intimacy. It wasn't a fashion accessory, but was treated like one, like how wearing braces used to be cool. The only thing it really accomplished was a wave of pink eye outbreaks and a complete loss of faith in flirting. In 2020, inflatable latex trousers made headlines. Designed to puff out like Michelin Man's emo cousin, they were supposed to be a revolutionary silhouette. Instead, they made wearers look like they were being attacked by pool toys. You couldn't sit, walk normally, or survive a stiff breeze. Perfect for people who hate practicality and love dramatic entrances. In Belarus, their Independence Day doesn't even mark independence. It celebrates the Soviet Red Army's liberation of Minsk from Nazi Germany. Basically, they're commemorating switching one occupier for another, complete with tanks, Soviet anthems, and fireworks that scream awkward historical symbolism. It's like throwing a birthday party for your stepdad and calling it your own. The Concorde was basically a supermodel with attitude. Too hot, too fast, and too high maintenance. Its nose had to bend down just to see the runway, and it refused to fly economically, guzzling fuel like a frat bro with an energy drink addiction. Eventually, it was grounded by its own extraness. In Germany, a man tried to avoid a red light ticket by switching seats with his dog. He got pulled over and confidently pointed to his Labrador like, "It was him, officer." The police weren't buying it, mainly because the dog looked like it had just learned it was part of a felony. The man was fined, and the dog received emotional damage. Some pigments hate each other so much that they chemically rebel when mixed. Ultramarine blue and cadmium orange, total diva fight. They separate like oil and water, creating a lumpy paste that looks like a grumpy cat coughed it up. If you mix every color together, you don't get a magical super hue. You get the color of used mop water at a gas station restroom. It's called color mud and is banned from Polite Painting Society. Only chaotic neutral artists summon it deliberately, usually while cackling in a beret under a full moon. The Hotsun chick of the Amazon has claws on its wings, yes, like a budget dinosaur trying cosplay. These little jungle goths use them to climb trees because their feet are too weak for anything else. Evolution was clearly in a mood that day and just said, screw it, give the bird velociraptor hands. One limited edition energy drink released in Russia claimed to be fresh bread flavored. It mimicked the taste of dark rye bread soaked in soda water with a hint of yeast. Drinking it was like chugging bakery runoff, foamy, weirdly malty, and leaving you unsure if you're energized or just fermenting from the inside. The camel's foot is basically a squishy pancake made of fat and cartilage that expands like a fleshy snowshoe. It lets them glide across the desert like they're moonwalking over sand dunes. Instead of sinking like a tourist in flip-flops, they stomp like they own the Sahara with feet built like squashed croissants. In Alaska, springtime brings a horrifying invasion called mosquito season, where clouds of bloodthirsty mosquitoes swarm with the aggression of unpaid interns. Locals wear netting like apocalyptic beekeepers just to get the mail. It's less of a seasonal change and more of a Game of Thrones level siege by nature's most annoying warriors. During spring, some people develop reverse seasonal depression and get sad because there's too much sunlight and happiness. Their brains basically say, nope, we like the darkness, bring back the gloom. While everyone else is frolicking in flowers, these folks are moodier than a goth locked in a greenhouse. In the dead of winter, the human bladder gets a seasonal personality shift known as cold diuresis. Your body goes, it's cold, so let's flush all our fluids immediately. You end up peeing like a racehorse every 10 minutes. It's your kidneys going full panic mode because they think you're about to freeze and need to ditch excess fluids like a bad habit. During fall, some people's hair starts shedding like they're prepping for molting season. It's a real phenomenon called seasonal telogen effluvium, and it turns your shower drain into a tribute to a werewolf's bad hair day. Meanwhile, squirrels are fluffing up for winter, and humans are just balding in solidarity. The Big Dig in Boston was so complicated that it needed custom-made tunnel jacking machines that could carefully shove highway-sized tunnels under existing city infrastructure without making the city collapse like a soggy lasagna. They built machines so delicate and precise, they were like giant dental tools, but for cities with trust issues. Japan's Toilet Bowl Park, officially known as the Toilet Museum in Kitakyushu, is a porcelain paradise celebrating the history and art of using the loo. The Gotthard Base Tunnel in Switzerland, the world's longest railway tunnel, needed rock-eating giants called TBMs or tunnel boring machines that weighed over 3,000 tons. The engineers had to invent systems that could chew through the Alps without cracking them like an angry baguette. Think of it as Earth dental surgery, done with extreme Swiss precision. Shanghai Tower, the world's second tallest building, had to be built on unstable swampy land. So, engineers invented a mega foundation drilling system that went deeper than a teenage existential crisis. They had to create machinery that could dig down 300 feet and pour concrete in a way that wouldn't make the building lean like a confused Pisa wannabe. In North Carolina, a law was once proposed banning people from predicting sea level rise using scientific data. Yup, right-wing legislators basically tried to make climate change illegal by legislating science out of existence. It's like yelling at the ocean to stop being wet and expecting it to comply out of sheer patriotism. In Oklahoma, a bizarre right-wing push led to the state banning Sharia law, despite zero evidence of anyone trying to implement it there. It's like putting up "No unicorns allowed" signs in your driveway and then bragging you've successfully defended your home from mythical creatures. In Alabama, it was once illegal to sell toys because right-wing lawmakers deemed them obscene. Meanwhile, buying a dozen assault rifles in a Walmart parking lot was completely fine. Apparently, pleasure equals immoral, but projectiles equals patriotic. PTSD messes with the prefrontal cortex, the brain's calm voice of reason, like it's on vacation during a crisis. Normally it says, relax, that's just thunder. With PTSD, it throws its hands up and lets the amygdala take the wheel. The result, fight or flight over a loud sneeze or a dropped spoon. Your brain's reward system gets short-circuited, making it nearly impossible to feel joy. That chocolate cake? Tastes like cardboard guilt. Puppies? Nope. Still emotionally numb. It's like your dopamine got evicted and the landlord replaced it with existential dread. Fun becomes a foreign language your brain refuses to translate. PTSD can cause something called hypervigilance, where your brain starts monitoring everything like it's running airport security. You become a living threat detector, flinching at shadows and memorizing exit signs like you're about to rob the place. Your nervous system's basically Red Alert 5.0, forever buffering, never relaxing. One of the most twisted things Alzheimer's does is create sundowning, where a person becomes more confused, agitated, or downright wild as the sun goes down. It's like their brain clock turns into a gremlin after dark. In a bizarre twist, some late-stage Alzheimer's patients develop mirror image syndrome, where they think their reflection is a stranger. They might try to greet, argue with, or even prepare food for their mirror twin, believing there's a lost soul trapped in the bathroom. Alzheimer's doesn't just erase memory, it turns reality into an avant-garde horror film. The gecko's foot is covered in millions of microscopic hairs called setae, which allow it to climb walls and ceilings like Spider-Man on Red Bull. These tiny hairs exploit quantum forces to stick to surfaces, meaning your average gecko could casually moonwalk across glass like it's a fashion runway for reptiles. In ancient times, some universities offered degrees for studying the foolish sciences, where students explored things like understanding madness and how it was perceived in society. Basically, it was a weird combo of philosophy, psychology, and superstition, where they assumed people who acted bizarrely must have some hidden knowledge, like they were enlightened by their own chaos. In 1921, a British family thought their house was haunted by the ghost of a Victorian woman who wept in the hallway every night. Turns out, it was just a neighbor's gramophone playing opera through the thin walls. The ghostly sobs were actually a poorly tuned soprano murdering Puccini. The haunting stopped once she hit a lower note. A man in California called the cops in 2011 after seeing a pale figure float outside his window every night at 3 a.m. The ghost turned out to be a tattered bedsheet caught on a power line that flapped dramatically whenever the wind blew. In 2015, a family in Mexico believed a spirit was flickering their lights and moving objects. They set up a camera and caught the spirit in action. Turns out, their cat had learned to flip the light switch with its paw and was moonlighting as a chaotic gremlin. The only haunting present was from pure feline disrespect. The construction of the Channel Tunnel between England and France forced engineers to invent massive tunnel-boring machines that looked like mechanical worms on steroids. They were so huge that they had their own climate systems. Without them, the only way to dig under the sea would have been hiring thousands of moles with union wages and tiny hard hats. Dubai's Palm Jumeirah, a man-made island shaped like a palm tree, needed machines that could literally vomit sand with GPS accuracy. Engineers had to create high-precision dredgers that blasted sand and rocks into perfect formations from miles away. Basically, they invented mechanical dragons that spat out land like Lego pieces for billionaires. In Arizona, right-wing legislators once debated a law that would let doctors lie to pregnant women about fetal abnormalities if the truth might lead to an abortion. Basically, legalized medical gaslighting, because nothing screams family values like withholding critical info from a woman during pregnancy in the name of ideology. In Hong Kong, a real estate tycoon demanded to be buried in a mountain cave with a feng shui water fountain powered by solar panels. The system required technicians to maintain it even after his death. With exploding head syndrome, some individuals wake up to the sound of a loud, thunderous explosion in their head, like someone set off a firecracker inside their skull. No actual explosion. No fireworks. Just a brain loudly pretending it's the 4th of July every time it drifts to sleep or wakes up. In the rare disorder, foreign accent syndrome, people wake up speaking in an accent that's not theirs. Suddenly, a mild-mannered British person is chatting with a thick French accent, and no one can explain why. It's as if the brain accidentally swapped language settings and chose random. One moment, you're sipping tea, and the next, you're pretending to be an Irish tourist. Cotard's syndrome makes people believe they are dead. Not metaphorically, like, I feel like a zombie, but literally. They think they've been wiped off existence and are walking ghosts. In hypertrichosis, also known as werewolf syndrome, people can grow excessive hair all over their bodies, including their faces, in patterns that would make Sasquatch jealous. It's not just a full beard, it's a werewolf transformation on a bad hair day. Imagine walking into a room and hearing a gasp as someone mistakes you for a fantasy creature from a medieval myth. The Billy the Big Mouth bass singing fish made millions by horrifying people with its robotic warbling of "Don't worry, be happy." It's a plastic fish that moves like it's possessed and lives solely to disturb. It was originally just a gag gift, then boom. America made it a national living room cryptid. A woman made millions selling used makeup bags. Not the makeup, just the stained, crusty bags. She marketed them as vintage beauty nostalgia, and Gen Z fell for it like they discovered a sacred artifact. Proof that with the right aesthetic, even a lipstick-smudged pouch can fund your retirement. The Snuggie, aka the backwards robe, was pitched like a cult uniform for couch potatoes. People laughed until millions were wrapped in polyester fleece, sipping tea like burrito monks. It made over $500 million. Kazakhstan's Independence Day includes eagle hunting competitions where majestic birds swoop down to snatch fake prey from horseback riders dressed like warrior princes. It's more Hunger Games than civic celebration, with bonus cultural cosplay. Also included yurts, fermented horse milk, and elders reciting poetry about the glory of being not Russian. There's a place in Iceland where you can literally walk between two tectonic plates, the Eurasian and North American ones, like some geologic version of Moses parting the Red Sea. It's called Thingvellir, and the plates are pulling apart so dramatically that Iceland is essentially doing the tectonic splits. Mother Earth is out here doing yoga while spewing lava. In the Himalayas, the Indian plate is smashing into the Eurasian plate like a geological bar fight that's been going on for 50 million years. The result? Mount Everest, the world's most dramatic "I'm taller than you" flex. The plates are still moving, meaning Everest is technically growing. So yes, the mountain has puberty. Electric irons were basically metal slabs you plugged into walls, and early vacuum cleaners were so big they were mounted on horse-drawn carts and served entire neighborhoods. It was the Wild West of household innovation, shockingly inefficient and bizarrely thrilling. The Mariana Trench, created by subduction between the Pacific and Philippine plates, is so deep you could drop Mount Everest into it and still have a mile of water left. It's the Earth's gloomy basement where pressure crushes things like it's holding a grudge. It's basically the goth corner of the ocean floor. The San Andreas Fault in California is a literal breakup line where the Pacific and North American plates are sliding past each other sideways. They're grinding past each other like an awkward Tinder date with tectonic baggage. Every shifty little move brings an earthquake and reminds LA that the ground is not emotionally stable. The Afar Triangle in East Africa is a tectonic crack party where three plates, the African, Somali, and Arabian, are pulling away from each other. It's like continental Jenga. Except the board is Earth, and the pieces are entire countries. Eventually, a whole new ocean might form there. Earth's DIY project. Insert water here. Holding in sneezes might feel polite, but it's a health disaster waiting to explode, literally. People have ruptured throats, popped blood vessels in their eyes, and even blown holes in their sinuses, all because they didn't want to be the sneezy drama queen in the room. Sneeze like a banshee, or suffer internal combustion. Wearing earbuds all day, every day, not only gives bacteria a cozy hot tub inside your ears, but it can also mess with your hearing permanently. Your ears weren't designed to be tiny nightclubs 24/7. Eventually, you'll be that person yelling, "What?" at microwave beeps and wondering why birds stopped singing. They didn't. You just broke your sound sensors. Cracking your neck obsessively isn't just an edgy TikTok habit, it can cause strokes. Yes, strokes. One wrong twist, and boom, you damage an artery in your neck that feeds your brain. So that satisfying pop could turn into a full-body reboot with a hospital bed and regret-flavored Jell-O. Using your phone while sitting on the toilet may seem like peak multitasking, but it turns the throne into a pressure cooker for your veins. Hello, hemorrhoids. That endless scroll puts unnecessary strain down there, making bathroom time a gateway to bum doom. Put the phone down and let your intestines work in peace. In medieval Europe, sewer systems meant tossing everything, yes, everything into the street. People would yell, "Gardyloo," before dumping their chamber pots out windows. If you ignored the warning, your morning walk turned into a poop obstacle course. No wonder everyone smelled like fermented tragedy wrapped in a damp sock. In Japan's Edo period, people literally bought and sold poop. Farmers paid for human waste to fertilize crops, and households earned extra cash through, bowel donations. So, if you had good digestion, you had a side hustle. Today it's crypto. Back then it was turd trading economics. In 1982, a squirrel in Canada chewed through a power line and blacked out the entire Toronto Stock Exchange. Yes, one fluffy-tailed rodent turned capitalism off like it was unplugging a toaster. Millions of dollars were lost because one squirrel woke up and chose financial anarchy with its teeth. That's rodent-level grid sabotage excellence. Psychologists say humans can only maintain about 150 meaningful relationships at a time. Anything more, and your brain starts assigning people the same status as decorative throw pillows. Vaguely familiar, but ultimately useless. So if you forget your old friend's birthday, but remember your dog's horoscope, blame Dunbar's number, not your cold, tiny heart. In Indonesia's Toraja community, the dead don't stay dead. Families keep corpses at home for months, sometimes years, dressing them, chatting with them, and feeding them like extremely quiet roommates. Then they throw a massive funeral party. Bonus, every few years they dig up the body for a fresh outfit. Death, but make it fashionably undead. In Tibet, they practice sky burials, where monks chop up the body and offer it to vultures. The idea is to let nature reclaim the body. It's kind of poetic until you realize a guy is literally out there slicing grandpa like it's vulture buffet night. Somewhere, a bird is licking its beak in appreciation. In Denmark, there's a grave sharing trend where people rent graves for 10 to 20 years like it's Airbnb for the afterlife. Once the lease is up, if no one renews, your bones get evicted and dumped in a communal pit, so basically, die poor and you're getting the skeleton version of couch surfing. In Madagascar, they have a tradition called Famidihana, the turning of the bones. Every few years, families dig up ancestors, dance with the corpses, rewrap them in new shrouds, and party. Imagine pulling great-grandma out of the grave and giving her a boogie break. It's like Weekend at Bernie's, but with real ancestral vibes. In the Philippines, some tribes bury their dead in hollowed-out tree trunks while still alive, or extremely close to it. The idea? A natural return to nature. It's eco-friendly and existentially terrifying. Somewhere, a guy is sitting in a tree thinking, "This is fine," while everyone else is carving his future coffin. In Mongolia, some herders have been known to sing lullabies to their goats to get them to produce more milk. Yes, full bedtime concerts for goats. Apparently, goats respond to soothing songs with better milk flow, which means goat herding sometimes doubles as an unpaid musical career for very patient men. In Sindh, when a baby gets their first haircut, some people weigh the hair and donate silver or gold of the same weight to charity. Considering babies have the hair mass of a wet cotton ball, it's more symbolic than substantial, unless your kid is born with a mane like a shampoo commercial model. In parts of South India, people break coconuts before important decisions, not just spiritually, but also to read the inside. A good coconut means yes. A rotten one? Nope. It's like Magic 8 Ball meets grocery aisle. Should I marry him? Cracks coconut outlook moldy. Divine intervention, but sponsored by produce. In India, a man mistakenly married the bride's sister after a power outage caused a mix-up during a traditional wedding. The ceremony went on in pitch darkness with face coverings. No one realized the blunder until the lights came back and Grandma nearly fainted at the plot twist. In Germany, Krampus, the horned demon-like creature, comes to punish bad kids. He doesn't leave coal. He leaves pure, unfiltered terror. Parents in Austria and parts of Germany hire Krampus actors to scare their kids straight. It's like Halloween meets Christmas, but with way more parental trauma and less candy. In Japan, Christmas is all about KFC. People line up for hours to get their holiday buckets of fried chicken because somehow it became a thing. In fact, the Japanese even pre-order their Christmas chicken meals months in advance, thinking it's traditional. Some meat lovers obsess so hard, they join raw meat cults, eating uncooked beef, liver, and even chicken, believing it's the secret to superhuman health. Meanwhile, their stomachs are basically on a tightrope between primal enlightenment and explosive food poisoning. It's health food roulette with salmonella as the prize. Chewing ice might seem like a harmless, crunchy habit, but long-term, it turns your teeth into cracked porcelain nightmares. Your molars start looking like they've been in a blender, and dentists everywhere scream into the void. Bonus horror? It's often a sign of iron deficiency, so your snack habit is both destructive and a medical red flag. In 2021, a Bitcoin mining facility in Iran caused rolling blackouts across the country. Yep, chasing fake coins made the real lights go out. Whole neighborhoods went dark, because someone was digitally digging for pixelated gold. The future is now, and it comes with a fried motherboard and zero electricity for grandma's heater. In Venezuela, where fuel used to cost less than a bottle of water, some people smuggled it into neighboring countries by sewing fuel pouches into their clothes. Fuel fashion became a thing. Picture someone walking across the border looking like a Michelin man filled with flammable Capri Suns. One trip, one bonfire risk. Your brain can't tell the difference between emotional pain from a breakup and physical pain, which is why losing a friend can feel like you got whacked in the soul with a frying pan. Basically, ghosting someone triggers the same brain circuits as stubbing your toe while crying on the inside. In 480 BC, the Greek soldier Aristodemus arrived late to the famous Battle of Thermopylae, only to find out that all his fellow Spartans had already died. So, what did he do? He ran into the fray solo, seeking death in battle to avenge his comrades. He got a hero's death, but it's like he showed up to the party hours late and demanded the spotlight. In the Battle of Hastings in the 11th century, Harold Godwinson, the English king, supposedly charged into battle with a single eye after getting an arrow lodged in it. Legend says that the arrow pierced his eye socket, but he kept fighting until he was fatally struck. It's like a battle scene straight out of an action movie, but with extra-ocular issues. Friendships are more likely to last if both people hate the same stuff. Not love, not mutual dreams. Nope, mutual rage. Your strongest emotional bonds are formed by aggressively agreeing that pineapple on pizza is a crime or that Karen from HR needs to chill. Hate, apparently, is friendship glue. Rundown is a stew made by boiling fish until it falls apart in coconut milk, forming a thick, oily soup. The name literally means it's run down into mush. Presentation? Looks like someone sneezed into a pot. Taste? Surprisingly fire. It's a hot mess in a bowl that your taste buds will worship. Piri-piri or peri-peri isn't just spicy, it's an exotic flame dance. Popular in African and Portuguese cuisines, this tiny pepper sneaks up on you like a ninja, hitting your taste buds with a zingy, fiery punch that feels like your tongue just went through an emotional roller coaster. If you're not careful, it could start a small rebellion in your mouth. Some meat lovers develop a weird condition called alpha-gal syndrome, an allergy to red meat caused by a tick bite. One day you're chewing steak like a caveman. Next day, your immune system sees beef and goes DEFCON 1. It's nature's ironic revenge. A tick curses you with forced veganism. In Iceland, they celebrate Yule Lads, 13 mischievous trolls who leave gifts in shoes. But here's the twist. The more naughty you are, the more likely you are to get rotten potatoes instead of presents. Imagine waking up to a spud staring at it like, did I do that? Christmas just got way more passive-aggressive. In Catalonia, they celebrate Cagatio, a pooping log. No, seriously. They beat a log with sticks and feed it candy until it poops out small presents. It's like an oddly festive version of a piñata, except the end result is slightly more embarrassing and way more baffling to explain at family dinners. The Indus Valley Civilization around 2500 BCE had better plumbing than 18th century Europe. They built underground drainage with manholes. Meanwhile, Europe was still thinking, a bucket and a prayer was a good waste disposal plan. So the ancient brown water engineers were flexing while future generations just marinated in filth. In Malawi, the Gule Wamkulu dance is performed by masked figures representing everything from animals to demons. The dancers move with spooky, puppet-like jerks, while villagers watch half in awe, half in fear. It's equal parts cultural heritage and horror movie casting call. Some say these masked figures aren't even fully human, just possessed professionals with killer footwork. In the Ivory Coast, the Zaoli dance is performed with lightning-fast footwork that looks like the dancers being electrocuted by joy. The mask worn is said to bring peace and unity, but let's be honest, it also looks like it was designed by a sleep-deprived cartoonist on a sugar rush. The dancer's legs blur into chaos while the face stays freakishly calm. In the Wodabe tribe, men compete in a dance called the Garawal, where they basically become human peacocks. They paint their faces, roll their eyes dramatically, and smile as wide as humanly possible to show off their teeth like walking toothpaste ads. The goal? Seduce women through extreme facial gymnastics and awkward hip swivels. In Russia, a traffic light malfunctioned and began flashing every possible signal at once: red, green, and yellow. creating an anarchist's dream intersection. Drivers simply gave up on traffic laws and started doing synchronized donuts as if the street had transformed into a Mario Kart track. Local officials blamed frozen wiring. Locals blamed vodka. In the US, a man got so fed up with a red light that seemed stuck, he got out of his car and started directing traffic himself. He wore a cape, shouted like a theater major on Red Bull, and tried to outcommand the actual signal. The police showed up thinking he was a flash mob. He insisted he was a hero. No one agreed. In Victorian London, the River Thames basically turned into a sewer, leading to the Great Stink of 1858. The smell was so vile, it made Parliament gag and finally fund a real sewer system. That's right. Laws were passed not by debate, but by the overpowering scent of weaponized poop water. And that's it, folks. Smash that like button like it's cabbage at your enemies, subscribe before your nose floods the place, and ring the bell or Johan the pee boiler's coming for you. Stay weird, stay wonderful. And maybe skip the bear wrestling.